Hi, I'm Raylyn Worcester, and this is Spreading the Word. That's Word with capital W, as in the written word, the Bible, and the Word made flesh, Jesus Christ. So today I'm reading to you from the collaboration between my brother, Keith Gilman, and myself, called The Bigger Picture. If you haven't heard the introduction, please go back and listen to that first. In order to see the bigger picture, you've got to take all of these little parts in order and put them all together to understand what's really going on in this world. So this is going to be article number 2, called An Insidious Evil. Webster defines insidious as something harmful that develops so gradually as to be well established before becoming apparent. I'm going to say that again. Insidious is something harmful that develops so gradually as to become well established before becoming apparent. How dangerous is that? There is not a more insidious evil than that of usury. Usury is an old-fashioned word that we don't hear much anymore. But once we learn to recognize it, we can see its evidence everywhere. In its strictest sense, usury is equated with interest charged on a loan. But usury actually means to defraud or take advantage of. We get our phrase being used from this root word. There are many obvious signs of usury in our society today. High-interest credit cards, payday loan stores, and rent-to-own furniture stores are the ones most people are aware of. Once we learn what usury entails, how it came to be, and what causes it to spread, we will be able to see how gradually it crept in, how well established it's become in the routine of our lives, and it will become apparent how prevalent the practice is. So, how did usury start? Back when God created the earth, He had a plan, or a blueprint, if you will, for a happy, prosperous, and successful life for those He created. Mankind was meant to live in the garden, where He would live off the fruit of His labor. There would be no waste. He was to live, work, and play in harmony with His fellow man. They were to love one another and prefer one another above themselves. They were to bear one another's burdens, each doing his fair share, fitting jointly together as one body, each supplying his portion to the good of the whole. There was to be no envy, strife, mistrust, hatred, illness, or death. Once Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden for giving in to a lust which became sin, they forfeited the blueprint, choosing a life of gratifying self instead. This is what their children learned, and their children's children, and their children after them. Instead of generation after generation following the blueprint with prosperity and success growing exponentially, now man's animal instinct of looking out for number one began to reign. And man grew cunning and began to devise ways to get what he wanted and needed at the expense of others. Just outside of Eden, in the Tigris-Euphrates Valley, the first known city of Ur was established. The city had a lot to offer people who had only known farming. There was revelry, nightlife, entertainment, company, music, industry, new worlds just waiting to be discovered. The lure of the city was too strong for many of the simple farm folk to resist. Life there was much different. In the city, the farmer couldn't grow his own food. He had to buy it. To buy food, he had to use the city's currency. To get the city's currency, he had to give up his labor for less than it was worth, so the city could profit. And the cycle of usury is established. The farmer is being taken advantage of, so the city will prosper. As prices rise, his ability to labor remains the same, so he becomes indebted. As he becomes indebted, he needs to borrow against his future labor to obtain the things he wants and needs. The debtor becomes slave to the lender, who has no need to work when he can live off the labor of the borrower. The city continues to grow and prosper as more and more of the simple farm folk are lured by their lusts for adventure, excitement, something different, and are willing to give up their freedom and sell their very souls to obtain it. The lender becomes master of the borrower, and as man cannot serve two masters, but must relinquish control of one to serve the other, he has forsaken the blueprint for a happy, prosperous, and successful life to strive after these very things in the lap of usury to the benefit of others. God knew this would happen, of course. That's why he warned so strongly against usury in his word. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother. Usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Deuteronomy 23:19. God didn't command these things in order to be a tyrant. He knew how destructive usury was, that it had the power to enslave his people, and the thought of that broke his heart. Listen to the anguish he expresses in Ezekiel 22:12, as his warnings were ignored, and that which he was trying to prevent has come to pass. In thee they have taken gifts to shed blood. Thou hast taken usury and increase, and thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion, and hast forgotten me, saith the Lord God. And so it continues to this day. Our cities, our businesses and monopolies, our banks, credit and financial systems, our empires are all products of usury. Even the rampant sexual immorality in our day is a form of usury. A person defrauding another with the promise of love and fidelity in order to get their desires gratified and their needs met without any real commitment to a loving monogamous marriage relationship. Usury is a virus, an insidious evil that quietly creeps in and enslaves us as we give in to pride, lust, greed, sloth, laziness, wrath, envy, and gluttony. There is a reason they are called the 7 deadly sins. Look around. You'll see usury everywhere. So what's the answer? Don't allow yourself to be used any longer to enrich another at your expense. Start paying off debt. Simplify. Downsize. Live within your means. Use cash. Don't borrow. Live a sustainable lifestyle. Refuse to continue being part of the problem and become an example of the solution instead. Acknowledge the one who has the blueprint for a happy, prosperous, successful life and follow him. Love one another. Love covers a multitude of sins. I hope that you enjoyed An Insidious Evil. I hope it's opened your eyes a little bit to what usury is, how it started, and how it pervades everyday life. These are important things to know. Please help me spread the word. Share a bigger picture with your friends and family. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, God bless.